Hey folks, just wanted to make this video showing you how I'm doing the under cabinet lighting in my kitchen. Just got the wall cabinets mounted and I've done some of it. Show you how I'm doing it using this product called Panduit. Here you can see I've got the first fixture already mounted and the wiring run to the second fixture, which is not installed yet. I've ordered that, it should be coming tomorrow. But here's the power wiring coming from the wall. But I lined up the wire with this hole in the cabinet that I drilled, threaded the wire through, and then pushed the cabinet onto the wall. And so now I got the wiring coming from the wall right here coming into the fixture. Of course, now these are these Metalux by Cooper lighting under cabinet lights, but there's many similar ones. And every time where that wiring is coming into the lighting, you have to have this conduit clamp. I'm pretty sure that's a code requirement. And then over here where it leaves the fixture and goes on to the next one, same thing, you need a clamp. So here's the Raceway that I'm using. See, this is that Panduit product. See, it's actually a two-piece Raceway with a body and then a hinged cap that snaps down into place and just clicks in place when you're ready to close it. You see, it's UL rated up to 600 volts maximum. And I'll show you, that's the model number of the stuff. And my electrical inspector said that you could actually leave this romex conduit, or romex cable rather, exposed, but even, you know, under the cabinets and whatnot. But I preferred to give it a little bit of protection. He didn't think that this was subject to damage. He thought that that would be okay, just exposed romex. But even he allowed as how romex that was run, like, let's say, inside the cabinets could be subject to damage from dishes or pots or whatever kind of bumping up against it. So I kind of had to find a solution. And this Panduit conduit, this is the only product that I've been able to find that had that UL rating and that was really small enough for my use and had components that I could use to kind of make it more neat and attractive. That's the package that's got the end caps in it, and they work pretty well. See, originally what I was planning to do was to put this lighting fixture right here at the front of the cabinet. And I was going to have the wiring running along the front here. And in order to go from cabinet to cabinet, what I was going to do was run the wiring into the corner, come up through, and then kind of tuck that wiring right here behind the frame, right in the corner there. And then once I got up high enough, you know, to go into the next cabinet, just drill through and go in, and then continue. You know, you would drill through and then come like right along the bottom, along the edge, you know, go into the fixture, come out of the other end of the fixture, and then continue on. But what I found after I built these are Hampton Bay Avondale cabinets, I realized that these blocks that hold together the cabinet sections prevented me from putting that wiring in the corner, so I couldn't really come up alongside that frame, and I had to shift gears and think up a different way to do it. So now the light is a little closer to the center of the cabinet, and the wiring is coming out and going through, you know, not right at the center, but more close to the center than it was previously. So that being the case, I had to find a different way to make this work. And the way I did that was just how you see. Drill a hole in the cabinet floor and then come up right along the wall here, and then instead of exposing the wire, covering it with this Raceway. Here on the other side, you can see I'm preparing to do the next run of wiring, and there's the hole drilled in the floor of the cabinet. There's the one going through. It comes through here, and that wiring will run here. Also, I'll put that in some Raceway before it connects to the fixture, which is mounted to the underside of this cabinet. That's what it looks like from underneath. I keep that hole really tight to the wall. And then here I'll also put some Raceway. Like I said, the electrical inspector was actually okay with this being bare romex, but I'm going to do it anyway. I just like the idea of having that little extra protection. And here you cut sections of this Panduit conduit. See, drill a hole there. That will line up, right? You just line up the hole in the Panduit with the hole in the cabinet, and it's got this adhesive backing on it. You basically just strip this backing off and stick this thing in place. And I tell you what, if you do that, this stuff will really, really hold. I mean, you put it on, you only have one chance. You're not going to be able to pull it off. This adhesive tape is that strong. But even so, I'm going to use screws to put this thing in because the conduit actually says inside, I don't know, yeah, it says use screws. And anytime you have a product that's a UL rating, you have to install it the way that the manufacturer directs in order to maintain that rating. So I am going to use screws just as a secondary means of attachment to keep the UL rating. One little detail that I found when I was installing this stuff is that the Raceway holds the wiring pretty tight to the surface of the cabinet. And these conduit clamps or cable clamps, they tend to pull the romex away from the surface a little bit. So the way I found to mitigate that is just by making this little horseshoe-shaped cutout, and that allows the wiring to kind of ride down a little bit into the opening of the conduit clamp. Another thing, a tip, something I realized too late, is that the veneer on these plywood cabinets is so thin that when you drill through from the other side of it, it tends to splinter that veneer. And I didn't realize that in time. I had the same thing over here. You can see that white surface. I'm going to have to paint that a little bit. Here it's also, of course, that's not quite as bad because that Raceway is pretty much going to cover that. But this would be exposed unless I painted it. I did a little better over here. You can see still got a little bit of splintering, but again, this will get covered by the end of the Raceway, which is coming in. But that one looks a lot better because what I did is took a thin piece of plywood and then a wood shim and jammed it up in there. And if you drill through that surface when there's like a piece of wood pressed hard up against it, that's how you eliminate that splintering. In our area, we're using still the 2017 NEC or NFPA National Electrical Code, which still allows this kind of installation. I believe, though, for 2023, they've made a change where this kind of penetration of the romex going through the opening like that, they would require this to be have some kind of a grommet or a bushing that protects the cable from the edges of the hole as it goes through. So, but since I'm not required to do that, I think it's pretty safe. I don't anticipate much abrasion just from putting the romex through that hole. So I think it'll be fine. There you can see I've drilled a little hole for the screw attachment and then used a 1/4-inch drill bit to make a little countersink depression there to keep the screw out of the way of the romex. I'm just going to be using these tiny little number 4 by 3/8 inch screws because the cabinet walls are only a 1/2 inch thick. So here I've adhered the Raceway in place and then drilled a little pilot hole for that small screw. I always find that's advisable with screws this small. Okay, so that piece is now screwed into the wall. I just take my romex wiring and just thread it through the hole there, so it comes out under the cabinet next door. And then I'll dress it into place. Yeah, before I do that, however, see I've threaded this end of the wire into the next fixture in line, and I'm going to prepare that little piece of bridge Raceway over here to go in place before I straighten up that cable and push it into position. Alright, so there's the cutouts and the hole for the screw. Actually made a mistake. This hole here was not needed. It goes in the hinged cap, not in the base. But that won't hurt anything. It'll just get covered up when the lid is closed. Also, I've turned the hole at this end into an open-end cutout, so it can just slide around the romex, which is already in place. Now the Raceway is adhered and screwed into position, and we can just push the wire into place. So there's the wiring pushed into place with a tight little turn here right where it goes into the hole, and then you just have to snap that lid shut and that's it for that section. And here you can see we've done the same thing up top. Inside the cabinet, push the romex in tight to the bottom with a tight little bend over here, and then we just take the cover cap, slide it into place, and close the hinged cap and snap it shut. That looks fine. Then I'll just complete the wiring by doing the same thing over here. Run up inside the cabinet. Of course, this will be a taller run. I'll come through. That's where the microwave goes, so won't be any light fixture under there. The wiring will just run underneath, get pinned to the underside of that cabinet, and then run down inside the cabinet. Again, come through the hole and hit that remaining light fixture. So overall, I'm pretty pleased with the result. I think that looks just fine. So I hope that helps, and thanks for watching.